Have you ever sat across from her? She's smiling, saying nothing, and you can feel something's wrong but can't name it. In love, it's not the fights that end you, it's the silence, the kind that feels like a trap. And it is a test. She's seeing if you stay solid or fold. Pass and she respects you. Fail and you lose her. Machiavelli warned, in every test, power is taken from the man who reacts first. In this video, you'll learn 6 ways to turn her silence into proof you're the man worth following. If you've ever felt small under a woman's quiet gaze, stay. 1. The test of attention. The quickest way to lose a woman's respect isn't by failing to provide. It's by proving she can pull you away from what matters most. It can happen in an instant. One small interruption, one quick favor, and the man she thought was unshakable suddenly feels like he's on a leash. What looks harmless on the surface is in reality a quiet test. Picture Daniel, 34, sitting in his home office on a Tuesday afternoon. He's deep in the final stages of a high-stakes project, the kind of work that demands every ounce of his attention. His mind is sharp, his thoughts moving quickly, his focus absolute. In this state, the rest of the world barely exists. Until he hears the sound of soft footsteps behind him. She appears in the doorway, leaning lightly against the frame. Her smile is warm, her tone light and playful as she says, "Hey, can you help me carry something upstairs?" It's not urgent. It's not heavy. But she didn't ask an hour ago when he was scrolling through his phone, and she doesn't plan to wait until he's done. She chooses this moment, this exact second, when his focus is locked in to make her request. Daniel, thinking this is what love and partnership look like, closes his laptop mid-thought. He gets up, follows her, and completes the task. She thanks him with a kiss on the cheek, and everything seems fine. Except something subtle has shifted. Not in her words, but in her eyes. The spark of certainty about his leadership dulls. Because now she knows his mission can be interrupted at will. And if it can be interrupted, it can be controlled. He's still kind. He's still good. But the silent part of her attraction, the part tied to trusting his authority, has stepped back. Machiavelli understood this dynamic centuries ago. The throne isn't lost in battle. It's lost the moment you abandon it willingly. A man's attention is his crown. The second you hand it over without resistance, you've crowned someone else. And make no mistake, this moment isn't about the favor. It's about the frame you just surrendered without even realizing it. He believed that being instantly available proved devotion. He read it as a lack of mission. And a man without a mission is a man she will feel compelled to steer. Once that shift happens, it's no longer an equal partnership, it becomes quiet governance. And it happens without either of you naming it. Be honest, when was the last time you stepped down from your throne the second she smiled and asked? Drop the scene in one sharp line and I'll give you the exact move to keep your crown next time. The next time you're deep in work and she interrupts with a request, pause. Hold your ground. Finish the thought, finish the page, finish the call, then respond on your time, not hers. That single act will communicate more about your strength than hours of sweet words. In the next part, you'll see why this helpful reflex isn't kindness, it's the seed of compliance. And compliance kills attraction faster than any flaw you think you're hiding. Miss what comes next, and you'll keep mistaking surrender for connection, never realizing you're training her to see you as replaceable. 2. The weak man's response to a tension test. She calls from across the room. Sweet tone, light smile, and without thinking he moves. The chair scrapes back, the laptop closes, his focus gone. In his mind, this is love. This is how you prove you're a good man, quick to help, quick to please. But in that moment, something older than either of them stirs in her mind. Not warmth, not gratitude, but the quiet note of collapse. He didn't just help, he abandoned his throne the moment the Queen lifted her hand. Alex was 33, a project manager used to running tight schedules and tight teams. That afternoon he was deep in prepping for a critical client pitch. Slides open, data lined up, mind fully locked in. His phone was on silent. His coffee sat cooling next to him. Then she stepped in. "Can you help me for a sec?" No urgency, no stress in her voice, just soft, casual sweetness. Without even glancing at the clock, he smiled and said, "Sure, babe." He followed her to the kitchen, carried a box upstairs and came back to his desk. Only 5 minutes lost, he told himself. But when he sat down, the thread of thought was gone, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a quiet shift had begun. She'd seen it. How fast he dropped the mission, how quickly the center of his world moved from the pitch to her whim. No fire, no danger, just her. And he obeyed. He didn't notice the faint, almost imperceptible narrowing of her eyes as she thanked him. That was the moment the gears turned. The day went on, but something between them had changed. Not on the surface. She still laughed at his jokes, still kissed him goodnight, but deep down she was rewriting his role. Not captain, not anchor, a servant in his own kingdom. Power, Machiavelli warned, is rarely lost in a grand battle. More often, it's surrendered in a quiet room when you trade your command for approval. A king who kneels for every small request soon rules nothing, not even himself. Like a chess player who moves without thinking, he hands over the board piece by piece until only the king is left. And even that, cornered. What comes next isn't about saying no to her. It's about proving that your world has gravity she cannot casually disrupt. Name the next moment you'll stay seated on your throne when she calls from across the room, and I'll give you the Machiavellian opening that makes her walk toward you instead. He thought love was measured in speed of service. She saw it as proof that her needs outweighed his mission. And when her needs can always override his focus, respect starts to erode in silence. How many times has the center of your day been moved by someone else's momentary want? Tomorrow, when she calls from the other room, don't leap to your feet. Don't apologize for staying in your zone. Meet her eyes. Let her see you're listening. Then finish what you were doing first. If that feels wrong, it's because you've been trained to put comfort over command. The next shift will show you how to hold your frame without turning cold, and why that's the difference between being followed and being forgotten. Skip the next part, and you'll keep thinking small interruptions are harmless favors when they're really rehearsals for losing the lead in your own life. The next section reveals how a powerful man answers the same test and leaves her both curious and drawn in. 3. The powerful man's response to a tension test. He enters the room, she smiles, she asks, and the powerful man doesn't flinch. His body remains still, his eyes steady. He doesn't snap to attention like a soldier called by his superior. He doesn't soften his tone into that overeager sweetness that screams he's desperate to please. He holds his posture, breathes once, and answers slowly. "I'll help you in 10 minutes. I'm focused right now." No apology, no guilt, just calm, deliberate authority. This isn't coldness, it's not disrespect, it's self-governance. A quiet declaration that his time, his focus, his mission are not available for instant purchase, even by someone he loves. In that moment, something subtle but electric happens. She feels it in her chest before she names it in her mind. Structure. He is immovable, not because he's stubborn, but because his priorities are set in bedrock. He doesn't need to announce his boundaries with drama. They are visible in how he carries himself. He didn't lash out. He didn't ignore her. He didn't bend. He simply made it clear that affection, charm, and timing cannot pull him off his axis, and that is magnetic. Machiavelli warned it is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. But here the fear is not terror, it's respect. It's the understanding that his attention is a scarce resource, not a faucet she can turn on and off. The deeper truth is that when a man possesses internal discipline, when he can politely but firmly hold his ground, a woman's desire naturally orients toward him, not because he dominates her, but because he demonstrates that he can steer the ship without losing the wheel. She pauses. Maybe she's a little thrown off. Maybe a flicker of annoyance crosses her face. But under that, something deeper stirs. that ancient feminine hunger to be near a man who cannot be swayed by emotion alone. Not a tyrant, not a pushover, a leader. One who can hear her request, acknowledge it, but not abandon his mission in a scramble to meet it. Her imagination starts to shift. Who is this man who resists her without anger? Why does his calm refusal make her pulse quicken? In the quiet after his words, she's not thinking about the favor anymore. She's thinking about him. The man who didn't take the bait. The man who showed that he is available by choice, not by default. And that changes everything. What moment did you hand her the keys to the throne room without making her earn them? Put it in the comments. Just one sentence, and I'll tell you why the kingdom fell. Because in her subconscious, attraction is tied to certainty. And certainty doesn't come from a man who is instantly moldable. It comes from a man who is grounded enough to make her wait, and still warm enough to make her want to. In this small moment, he has proven something priceless, that his identity is not up for negotiation. This is why the powerful man passes the attention test, not by defiance, not by detachment, but by holding the center of his world steady, even when affection tries to pull it off balance. And the reward is more than respect. It's intrigue. He has planted a question in her mind that only time can answer. But holding your frame is only the first battle. The next test is sharper. She'll ignite jealousy to see if your power is real or just an act. 4. The test of jealousy. She doesn't shout. She doesn't accuse. She doesn't even raise an eyebrow. Instead, in the middle of a perfectly normal night, she drops a name into the conversation, a man from her past, someone she used to talk to, or maybe just a vague, "I once knew a guy like that." She lets it hang in the air like smoke, saying nothing more, giving you nothing to grab onto. And then she watches. Not for your words, but for the fracture of a tell. This isn't random. It's a precision strike, designed to measure what kind of man is sitting across from her. Not the man you think you are, but the one you become under pressure. Imagine Alex, 32, confident enough in most rooms until this night. They're sitting together in a crowded bar, laughter and music all around. She leans in, smiling, and drops the name. His chest tightens before he even realizes it. He forces a smirk, tries to act unbothered, but his eyes betray him. They dart away for just a second. "Oh yeah? Who was he?" The words slip out before his mind catches up. He tells himself he's just making conversation, but inside his pulse is pounding. He starts listening less to the music and more to the tone of her voice, dissecting every pause, every glance, every detail of the story she's barely telling. In his mind, images start to form. Her with him, laughing, touching. And the more he tries to hide it, the more she can see it. His shoulders have shifted. His tone has sharpened. His frame, once solid, is now bending under a ghost that isn't even in the room. What was meant to be a light night out has turned into an invisible interrogation, with her holding the pen and him on trial. She doesn't need to say a word. She already has her answer. Machiavelli would call this a test of sovereignty. A king who flinches at the mention of old rivals is a king who wears the crown but doesn't own the throne. Jealousy in her hands is not about other men, it's about control. If she can rattle you with shadows, she knows your walls are paper. If she cannot, she knows your foundation is stone. When was the last time a ghost from her past stepped into your court and you broke composure? Write it so others see they're not alone. And I'll give you the counter that keeps the crown on your head. What you'll see next isn't romance. It's how power changes hands the second you let emotion dictate the terms. He thought staying curious made him confident. She saw it as proof that his worth could still be questioned. And when a man's worth can be questioned, attraction quietly rewrites itself. The strong become magnetic. The weak become replaceable. How often has your calm been real? And how often has it been an act you can't keep up? If this happens to you, resist the pull. Don't lean in, don't press for details. Smile. Change the subject on your terms. Let the silence work in your favor. If that feels impossible, the next part will show you how to hold your frame so tightly that no name, no past, no ghost can shake it. Because the next section, the powerful man's response to jealousy test, reveals how to turn her quiet provocation into the very thing that deepens her respect for you. Miss it, and you'll keep losing ground in battles you don't even see. 5. The powerful man's response to jealousy test. She says the name like it's nothing. A passing mention dressed in casual tone designed to drift away unnoticed. But you notice, and choose not to flinch. No shift in your eyes, no tightening of your jaw. You take a slow sip of your drink, set it down, and let a small, almost amused smile curve your lips. Poor guy, you say lightly. Bet he still thinks about you. Then you lean back, turn your attention to the conversation you were having before, or even glance at the game on the TV behind her. Not performatively aloof, authentically unmoved. Alex understands this isn't about pretending. It's about presence. He knows that reacting is surrendering the frame, and in the Machiavellian playbook, surrender is never silent, it's seen. In the past, he might have leaned forward, asked questions, tried to decode every detail for reassurance. Tonight, he does nothing of the sort. He stays in his world. His energy doesn't lunge at hers. It waits, touches, lets her feel the weight of his composure. And in that stillness, something changes. Her smile lingers, but inside, the script she expected begins to crumble. She thought she could draw him into a subtle game of comparison, but he refused to enter the arena. Not because he didn't hear her, but because he doesn't compete with ghosts. This is more than ignoring her words, it's subcommunicating something primal. I am the present, I am the standard. I don't measure myself against your past, because your past was only a search for me. Machiavelli called this maintaining state. The discipline to hold your emotional center regardless of what's thrown at you. Unless a man's self-image wobbles when threatened, a powerful man's only solidifies. The effect is surgical. By refusing to react, he flips the test back onto her. Now she's the one wondering. Did he care? Is he hiding it? Has he already decided I'm not worth emotional energy? The absence of the expected reaction becomes a riddle, and riddles breed fascination. Her curiosity deepens because the easy win she counted on never arrived. Write the order you wish you'd sent your younger self before letting a name from her past shake your throne. Then, I'll rewrite it in Machiavelli's voice so it never happens again. Soon, she's not comparing him to the man she mentioned, she's comparing him to her idea of power. The test, meant to expose weakness, has instead revealed strength. In her mind, a new image forms. A man with deep roots, who thrives in uncertainty instead of scrambling for control. And that image pulls her in closer. Not because he chased, but because he stayed still. You're not fading, you're filtering. And in a moment, you'll see why this stance doesn't just protect you. It positions you as the rarest man in the room. He thought holding frame was about dominating the moment. She saw that it was about governing himself, and when a man governs himself, he governs the dynamic without force. How much of your calm is genuine, and how much is just you hiding a fracture? Here's the move. When she tests you with a name, hold your pace, keep your tone even, change the subject on your terms. Show her, without saying it, that no shadow from the past can block your sun. If that feels risky, remember, what comes next is how you anchor this power so deeply that no test, no provocation can shake it. Because the next part, the withdrawal that builds obsession, is where we turn composure into a force that doesn't just pass her tests, but makes her invent new ways to get closer. Miss it, and you'll go back to performing strength instead of embodying it. 6. The test of withdrawal. She doesn't storm out or slam the door, she just fades. The texts slow down, the calls get shorter, the playful tone softens into something neutral, almost polite. No confrontation, no explanation, only space. the kind of space that makes most men lean forward without realizing it. This is not an accident. It's a deliberate pullback, a silent experiment to see what you'll do when the warmth you've grown used to begins to cool. She's not looking for an apology, she's looking for your center. Withdrawal is one of the most potent tests because it speaks in absence. You can't argue with it, you can't reason with it. There are no words to twist, only empty space to interpret. And in that emptiness, your instincts will either betray you or prove you. Because women aren't just drawn to how a man behaves when she's present, they're drawn to how he holds himself when she's not. Take Daniel, 38, an entrepreneur who prided himself on being emotionally available. For months, his relationship with Claire was effortless. Constant messages, spontaneous dates, deep talks into the night. Then, one week she grew quieter. First a day without texting, then two. The replies she sent were short, punctuated with the kind of casual emojis that felt mechanical. Daniel noticed, and the more he noticed, the less he could think about anything else. His focus slipped. He stayed up late staring at his phone, refreshing chats, wondering if he had done something wrong. Within days, he broke. His texts became longer, more frequent, demanding clarity. "Are you upset? Did I say something? Please, just tell me what's going on." To him, it was love. To her, it was exposure. The man who once radiated calm had revealed a dependency so raw it was almost painful to watch. The shift was irreversible. She had seen his confidence hinge on her attention, and once that was visible, it couldn't be unseen. The pedestal she had placed him on crumbled, not because of cruelty, but because attraction withers when sovereignty is lost. Machiavelli would have recognized the trap immediately. He who needs constant reassurance is already conquered. The real test of power is not holding the throne when the crowd is cheering, it's keeping it when the court is silent. Her withdrawal isn't the enemy, it's the arena where you decide if you are a fortress or a sandcastle. What you'll see next isn't rejection. It's the shift in power that happens when absence becomes your stage. He thought reassurance was connection. She saw it as dependence. And dependence is gravity pulling desire into the ground. A man who collapses at the first sign of distance teaches the other person that his stability is borrowed, not built. And once that truth surfaces, it becomes impossible to respect the structure. How much of what you call closeness is really just fear of being left? So when the silence comes, don't rush to fill it. Don't chase. Don't beg. Redirect your focus into your mission, your body, your circle. Let your life swell with movement that has nothing to do with her. And if you must reply, do it sparingly and without need. One clean line like, "I'm here when you're ready." That's not withdrawal for the sake of a game. It's the posture of a man who doesn't measure his worth in another's presence, because what follows is the inversion of the test. Her absence, meant to unsettle you, begins to unsettle her. She wonders why you haven't chased. She checks your social media, she replays your last conversation, and somewhere between her doubt and her curiosity, the balance shifts. You're no longer the one waiting, she is. What future fortress will you rule that no silence, no absence, no test can breach? State it, and I'll give you the Machiavellian plan to guard it for life. Skip what comes next, and you'll never know how to turn this quiet standoff into the moment she sees you, not as an option she can drift from, but as the center gravity always pulls her back to. The conclusion will reveal exactly how to lock that frame in place, permanently. Every silent test she gives you is not an attack. It's an invitation to reveal who you really are. You've seen how holding your focus, refusing to feed jealousy, and staying grounded in withdrawal turns the frame in your favor. These are not tricks, they're proof of inner command. A man who masters them isn't chasing approval. He sets the standard others rise to meet. Because in a world full of men reacting to every look, every pause, every shift in tone, the one who stays steady becomes unforgettable. That steadiness earns not just attraction but respect, and respect is the soil where lasting desire grows. So carry this forward, live it outside this screen, and if you're ready to keep sharpening this power, so you never crumble under anyone's test, Subscribe now. What's coming next will make the man you are today look like only the beginning.